you so much for joining me. Now, I am not going to tiptoe around. I am getting straight to it here. What really made you leave Hitched?
Oh my God, what a big question. Do you know what? I have loved my time at Hitched. I feel very loyal to that brand because it's where I started my career and just spent another 5 years there. But I think for me, it was time to do something different.
Yeah.
5 years is a long time in one place. And I am a person who likes change. I like to try new things. I like to get my hands dirty. And the opportunity arose with Bridebook to come in and do something new, something different, and something well, I'm not getting my hands dirty. That's probably the wrong kind of expression for weddings. They're staying very clean, but I'm getting a little bit more stuck into the kind of tech startup side of it.
Ooh, that's interesting. So, was there this moment? Because I know when I've had big, not career change, I've always been in weddings, but like moves, let's say. And I remember the moment I was sitting at my desk or someone said something and I go, okay, it's time. Did you have that moment at Hitched?
No, I didn't. It was a very kind of gradual thing where I just sort of realized my dream was always to be editor of Hitched, right? When I started as an
So,
intern at
yes,
Hitched.
how did you start? When did you start? Give us the background.
Yeah, so I just graduated uni. I graduated uni on the Friday. I was 21. I started at Hitched on the Monday as an intern.
Wow.
Yeah, straight in.
And did you
And
love weddings? Was that a thing or it was
no,
just not?
God, no, no, no. I was just desperate for a job. 2012 was a
Right.
difficult time, especially
Yeah.
in journalism. It was
Mm.
hard to get jobs. So I applied for, I want to say 87, and I got one, and it was Hitched. And I thought, this is
It's
not
like a
what I want.
sliding doors moment, isn't it? And I think we all have them in our lives where it's like all of those other 86 were just not meant to be. And where might your life have gone if
Yeah.
you hadn't got that one opportunity? I find it mind-boggling how like the universe.
It's so funny. And I remember walking into the office. It was on an industrial estate in Camberley in Surrey. It had these horrible carpet tiles and like 12 people worked there. And I just remember thinking, like, this is not what I expected. You watch like 13 going on 30, how to lose a guy in 10 days, the glam, like, you're like, oh, I want to be a journalist because it looks really glamorous. And then you're in an industrial estate um with 12 people. I was like, oh, and you're 21. Like, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna stay for a year
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna use this job to get into like real journalism.
And so who owned Hitched at the time? Was it Dean?
Yeah, Dean and Darren, the
Yes.
two original founders. And you know what? It kind of spoiled me in a way because I sat at the same bank of desks as the founder of the business as the intern.
What an incredible learning experience that you
It
wouldn't have even
was.
realized how big that was at the time.
I only realized it when we got acquired by Immediate Media and I went into a big media company and I was like, oh, it's really not normal to like have lunch with your CEO and, hang out with him and have all these in jokes and stuff. Yeah,
And so,
it's funny.
okay, so how did it grow? Then they sold. What happened? Give us the journey and where you fitted into that.
So I was the intern, and after a year, I was asked. Well, I was made full time to stay. I was very happy to at that point. I'd really grown to love it and
You're
got
still on
into
the
reading.
industrial estate.
Yet still on the industrial estate. But then after I think 2.5 years of me being there, 3 years, it got acquired by Immediate Media, big publishing company, does Radio Times, Top of the Pops,
Good. Exciting.
BBC Good Food, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was big leagues. And this for me, a lot of people were upset about this because it was a big change. But I was 24 and I was so excited.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this
Fresh.
is happening now. I'm getting out of the industrial estate. Um, so I was very excited to do that. And obviously, they also own You and Your Wedding and Perfect Wedding,
Oh, okay.
which was interesting. This was a time when the industry was quite competitive,
Mm.
and lots of people were lovely. Not everybody was that excited about us joining, though. So it
Okay,
wasn't like,
hold on. Whoa, we
I'm
can't
not
drop
naming
those
names.
things. No, we're never going to name names on this podcast. That's not what we do. But as you're still quite young at 24, right? You're still in that first role, as it were. I know you've moved on and
Yeah,
grown through it. How did you experience that feeling of people not being that welcoming and like what did that look like day to day? Because I
I
know
feel
people go
like
through this and it would be good to hear from you.
I went in as like a puppy, right? Like so excited. Oh my God, I'm going to meet all these magazine people. This is so cool. And they did treat me a bit like a puppy that was like like biting at your leg or whatever. They were a bit like, oh God. I will never forget somebody in the office saying to me, I so admire your commitment to wearing shoes you can't really walk in. And I was like, oh, I thought I could. But I think for somebody who wasn't me, that probably would have been quite devastating. But I think I've always had, and probably it does come from sharing a table with your CEO, a very deep confidence in what I was doing and what I'd learned. And I just thought, you know what, you don't get me, but I don't care. Um,
Wow.
I've always like wherever I am, I'm always exactly the same. So I was who I am with those people. And in the end, we all got on great and it all worked out for the best. But for those first few months, it was a little bit like, oh,
Wow.
well, I wanted Devil Wears Prada, and here I am.
Yeah. And here we are, and I'm having to deal with the actual real world, and it's tough,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And okay, and I think so many people resonate having moved roles or jobs or and having that one or two people who make you feel like you're not good enough. You know, I've certainly had it in my career. And you know, sometimes it breaks people and sometimes it just makes us go, you know what, let me just show you.
Yeah. And I'm very much the latter. I like to prove people wrong. I'm quite contrary. So, it just fuels me, to be honest.
Okay, so people will probably presume that your move from Hitch to Bridebook was kind of strategic and planned. Is that how it went, or what was really going on?
Well, so I've been aware of Bridebook for a very long time. I've known Hamish, the founder of
Yeah,
Bridebook, for a really long time because, Heads of House were a client of ours
of course.
before Bridebook was even a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
we,
just for those listening to clarify, so Hamish owns Bridebook and he also
yes,
owns that beautiful wedding venue, which is Heads a House, right? So
yes,
they
and
would have been
Hamish is,
listing on Hitched as the others
yes,
do. Yeah, perfect.
and he was, he's has always been very well known in the industry. Always known of him. Got to know him a lot better during COVID. We were all on the UK Weddings Task Force together.
Ah, okay.
He is a very fun guy. I always would look forward to going to an event with Hamish on the guest list because you're going to have fun. And
What
we've
does
also,
he do that's so fun? Give me an example.
oh my gosh, it's hard to say because I'm always it's an event. We've always had alcohol. But no, he's a great laugh. He's just a very funny guy.
Okay,
And I have always kept an eye on what Bridebook are doing.
of course.
They're very, yeah, they're very big movers and shakers in the field.
Mm.
They have a lot of power behind them with Hamish. And I just got to talking to him a bit more in recent years. And the more I was hearing about what they were doing over there, the more I was like, actually, do you know what? This sounds like the stuff that I used to really love, like the tech side of it, the kind of startup energy where you're still building and you're growing and the momentum is really fast and it's a little bit more scrappy. And I thought, that sounds like
Mm.
fun. It sounds like what I fell in love with in the first place. So yeah.
Because
And
Hitched only a few years ago got bought by the big
yes,
American company,
yes,
not for who our American clients most list with, and so
yes,
I imagine that really changed the dynamic. Even though you'd already grown at Hitched and become, this huge platform, I imagine being acquired by a large American company changed the game again, and the contrast then back to that founder style must have been quite,
yeah.
quite different.
And I loved it. I love being part of a global brand.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. Got some to do some amazing things. But you did go from being like the big fish in your pond to being a much smaller one, like, going anywhere where you're going to be compared against the knot, you're always going to be smaller. And I have very big fish energy. I do well
I love
not being a big fish. So perhaps that was an adjustment for me to
that.
realize, okay, we're not the jewel in the crown anymore. Like we are just part of the machine. And like I say, great experience, lots of lovely people. But where I am now, it felt like, okay, it's time to get back to doing more hands-on stuff, getting more stuck in things, and yeah,
Okay,
not
so
following rules as much.
no one's listening, right? It's just me and you. Did anyone try to talk you out of leaving?
Yeah, yeah. Not. I'm pleased to say they
Yeah, of
weren't like,
course.
go on, off you go. Um,
They were like, let's pack your box up for you. No.
yeah, no, and it was a tough decision, and it was one that took a lot of time because I've actually spent 10 years of my working life at Hitched.
Yeah, it's
um
huge.
yeah, and there's always going to be a bit of me that's purple. um but yeah, you have to just do what's right for you, and at this point in time, it's what I want to be doing more. Well, like I said, I'm a rule breaker, and I feel like Bridebook are a little bit more rule breakery. So
A little bit more rebel energy.
yes, yes,
So what
that's
does your
it.
day to day like look like at the moment?
Oh my God, at the moment it's very busy because I've just
Yeah.
started. So I'm getting to
And we're
meet
in engagement
everybody.
season at time of recording this. So,
Yes.
obviously it's all kicking off.
Yeah, the big wedding studies come out, the
Oh,
reports
yes,
have just come
I
out.
love using those stats, right? So I'll
Yes.
often quote the Bride Book report in a lot of my trainings and looking at what we're doing. So how do you gather, like, where does that all come from?
So it's really big. It's really in depth. This year's one was the most in depth ever.
Mm,
Bridebook surveyed over 7,000 couples, which is a
wow.
really large data sample.
Yeah.
And it's couples who have got married and who are also planning. So it's quite a broad spectrum. And we found this year the average cost, I think, is £20,604, which is steady.
Okay.
And I know it's been a bit of a tough year, I think, the
Yeah.
last year for a lot of vendors. And I think it's actually quite reassuring to see that the cost hasn't dropped. It stayed the same. Couples are still looking to invest the same amount, despite the cost of living, despite, all the tough things that people have got going on.
Yeah.
Wedding spend is staying steady.
Let's just touch on that because this is such a hot topic. Obviously I work now only with the businesses, so and not with the couples like I used to. But when you're talking about that 20 grand, not including honeymoon, not
Not
including
including
rent.
honeymoon,
So we're talking about venue, food and beverage, main suppliers. That's what we're
photographers.
talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
for 20.
yeah.
And how do you work out that average? Because there's different ways I remember from school of working out an average. Do you take the whole spend and divide it by the number of weddings, or like what? How do you work it out?
Yes, I think that's the best way to do it, really. You've got to look at, because it is a spectrum and it's so hard. And I say this to couples all
Yeah,
the time and to businesses. It's not a benchmark. It's not like
yeah,
this is what you should spend, this is what you have to spend, blah,
right.
blah, blah. It's just this is the kind of combined average of what people are spending. And it's going to always be so hard because you've
So
got
hard.
couples in London where prices are so much higher than
I
in
was
like
just going to say, like
Middlesbrough.
my time in London, I was at Claridge's, Rosewood, Mandarin Oriental. There was not a weekend that went by that any of my weddings were less than a quarter of a mil, right?
Yeah.
And
And
so
you
that
see
number is not realistic for most people.
And you see, couples who are spending a quarter of a million on their wedding, they're probably not that hands-on in the planning, and they're probably not going to
They're
fill
not.
out a report, like a survey about how they did their wedding, because they don't know, they didn't do it. Um,
Interesting. Okay, that's so how do you target those couples?
well, I think it's not particularly for what we're trying to do, which is very mainstream. It's
Mm.
not that helpful to have them really. If we're bumping up an average, like
No,
we don't
sorry, I
want
meant
to.
how do you target the right couples
Oh,
that most of us
sorry.
want? No, you're fine.
Yeah, no. So
That most of us want to hear from that kind of middle section of the market, right?
So at Brightbook, 2 out of every 3 wedding planning couples are registered. So there's a really big sample. So the
Right.
survey goes out to all registered
Got it.
couples. Yeah. And
Perfect. That makes
some
so
of those may be the higher budget ones, but for the
there might
most
be a
part,
couple.
we
Mm,
can assume that people using an app to plan their wedding are
yeah.
doing it themselves and are probably
Yeah.
in that kind of average benchmark that we're looking
Yeah,
for.
that's super helpful because again, this is something I often discuss with my venues who I
Yeah.
work with to help them drive up sales. We have these conversations. So that's super, super useful for us to know where those numbers are coming from.
Yeah. And there's always going to be variations. Like there's always going to be that person who had Aunt Sue make the wedding cake. There's
Sure.
always going to be that person who said, I don't want any flowers. I don't care about them. And that's going to, it's very, very hard
Yeah.
to kind of clean the data and get, but the thing I will say about the team at Brightbook is they're very technologically minded. They're very, very data driven. And I think, in the coming years, we're going to see real like leaps and bounds in how this data is presented and how couples and vendors can interpret it.
And so if you could redesign a piece of a platform, like maybe it's not Bride, but specifically any of the wedding listing platforms, what would you love to fix? What do you feel is broken a little bit that needs a little readjusting? And maybe it's something you're working on behind the scenes, or maybe it's just a pipe dream.
This is really like biased to what I do, but I hope a lot of people would agree with me. I would like to see content come back more, have that more magazine feel, because I do think it's such a shame that there are so few wedding magazines now. And
Yes.
actually, when you think about it, it's quite a captive audience. You know, when you get married, you do want those magazines. And I'm lucky that I still do little bits for Bridal Buyer and things like that. And I
Ah,
love,
yes, I've done a few articles for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love getting, I used to work there. So it's really nice to be able to still, I don't think there's anywhere I haven't been at this point, but
That's how I feel about wedding venues.
yeah, we get around. But yeah, it's nice to have that magazine. And even though it's a trade magazine, so it's not quite as
Mm.
broad as a wedding planning one, it's still lovely to look at the beautiful layouts and the dresses and stuff. And I really, really wish that there will be in the future. Maybe, you know,
Mm.
we're seeing records came back,
Yeah.
cassettes came back. So maybe like at some point I do think we will get magazines back at the front of it all.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because right now it does feel that the listing sites are very marketplace, right? Like
Yes.
we're just going on, we're transactional, we're
Yeah.
finding a photographer or a venue or whatever the thing is, and it's very transactional. And
And
actually, what
weddings
you said,
aren't
no.
transactional.
And
Yeah.
what you said there, actually, I could picture something more magazine looking, more not blog so much, but that kind of more aesthetic
Yeah.
that we
Editorial
enjoy.
feel. That's
Yes,
what I
that's the
want.
word.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
would
my
love that.
dream.
I would love that. Well, let's hope Hamish is listening to this.
Well, I'll do it anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go. So, what is your role now at Bridebook? What is your technical title?
So my title is a long one. It's Global Head of Brand, Content, and Social.
Ooh.
Um,
And what
yeah.
does that mean to the average person on the street? What are you actually doing?
So I am no longer just UK focused. I'm looking after Bridebook's presence in all its markets.
And what other countries are you in?
Well, you're really testing me now. I've only done one day in the
Just
job.
some of them, just a
Germany,
couple.
France, Australia, Canada.
Ooh.
Um,
Australia is an interesting market. I work with some of the Australian businesses, and they do work a little bit differently to
well,
the US
yeah.
and the UK, right?
One of my first roles at Hitched was editor of Hitched Australia. So
Ah, so you know the market.
I do, although I've been out of it for some time, but I'm excited to get back into it. South
Definitely
Africa as well. That's another quite interesting market.
very interesting.
Yeah, it's similar to Australia, especially in terms of the styles and the seasons. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm and Ireland as well. That's another market that we
Huge
work with.
and
Yeah.
huge wedding market, right?
Yeah, so and I remember working on Ireland 10 or 12 years ago, and it was actually quite hard because people really did tend to go by recommendations back then.
And
And
stay community
yeah,
style, like they would know the three venues
yeah.
that were in their village.
And it's changed so much in the
Range.
last few
Yeah.
years. So yeah, it's really exciting to be doing that kind of stuff again. And then I'm looking after content as I always do, the social presence and PR as well. That's a big part of my job.
Mm.
So
Whose social media, nothing to do with wedding, do you love? You know, when you see their content, I'll tell you who I love. You know, Aldi, you know,
yes,
right? Do you see their stuff? It is
yes,
hysterical.
I
And,
love it.
and I am like, you people are geniuses. How did you get to a place where like a cheap supermarket is actually a highlight on my feed?
Yeah, it's
That
so
is just
good. And I
right.
love the rivalries between the different brands. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. I really love the cereal company, Surreal. Have a
Oh,
look at their stuff. It's really good. They're very, very entertaining.
is it? And what do they
Yeah,
sell? What's their product?
it's cereal, like
Oh, it's there.
breakfast cereal, but they're called Surreal. Really fun marketing. And I also saw like the NHS went absolutely viral the other day with the Harry Styles post. Did you see it?
No.
Oh gosh, they did like if you were a fan of Harry Styles at this age and it was the One Direction, and you know you're here at this age, it's time for your smear test. And
That's
I just thought,
brilliant.
wow, that is so good. I love like the very zeitgeisty, very like not what you expect from the NHS, but
No.
it works. Like that's how you should speak to people
And
because
don't you
it's
think
women,
social's changed so
yeah, it's
much
women
to
in their
give us this
30s
stuff?
and 40s. So talk to them like that, you know?
And
Yeah.
I love that we can be freer on social now. Like we used to have to be super curated and everything had to be perfect. And then everybody had to dance on a bed, which by the way, I never did. And everyone was just jumping around on beds and stuff. I was
I've
like, I
never
don't
done
get
that.
this. Yeah, no, weird.
No. I
And
did
now I
once
feel
dress
like,
up as Boris Johnson
yeah.
during the pandemic for the Hitched Instagram. That was quite.
How did that go? Did people receive that well?
Most people did. Yeah, I offended the very few diehard Boris fans out there,
I
but
mean, if your content doesn't offend a few, then we're
yeah,
probably not doing a good job, right?
yeah, I didn't mind about that. So, but yeah, I think probably the hardest bit of that was someone said to me, "I loved your wig," and I was like, "Oh my God, that was my own hair." But yeah, I
You just
got a
did some
deep
back combing
conditioning
or
treatment
something.
after that.
I love
Yeah.
that. Did you see all of the stuff? Of course you did because you know what's going on in the world. All the Beckham stuff recently.
Yes,
And
I
now
did.
Victoria is at number one. How are you? Where do you sit in this whole Beckham saga?
Oh, it's such a complicated thing, because we genuinely don't know anything, do we? Like, all we know is what we get to see. I think on the terms of like celebrity families,
Mm.
the Beckhams don't seem to have done it too badly. They're not rinsing their children for money, they're not forcing them in front of a camera all the time. It's very selected and curated when they appear together. But of course, we don't know what it's like behind closed doors. I do know, the Peltz Beckham family, they had three different wedding planners in the space of a year.
Did
And there was
they?
some,
I didn't know that.
yes, they did. And
So
there was a
that
legal
says
case.
something. Oh, and is this
Yeah.
public knowledge? Are you
It's
sharing?
public knowledge. Yeah. You
Oh
can,
God,
you
I
can
missed this. How did I miss
get
it?
yourself on the Daily Mail. You can read all the message transcripts between them. It's very interesting. But obviously, there were very high expectations there, very high budget. Preston Bailey was the first planner, and then he
Mm.
stepped down. And then there was, oh, I can't remember the name of this, but then there was two that did it together. And then in the end, it was Michelle, begins with an R. I've completely blanked on her name.
No,
She
you're
did
fine.
the,
We'll find it. We'll Google it.
yeah, she did the I think she turned it around in 11 weeks in the
Mm.
end. But it obviously was a very high pressure,
Yeah.
high expectation event. And
Oh,
we know, like I know from what I do,
yeah.
people always have family drama around their weddings. It's like a
Always.
big crucible, it brings
Always.
it out.
Mhm.
And obviously, when you multiply the budget by several million and you multiply the guest list by quite a few
Yeah.
hundred, the drama is also going to get
Yeah.
multiplied too.
And not that I ever dealt quite at that level, but I was often dealing with, 500,000, even up to £1 million weddings. And what I found was that those guests were so used to going to epic events that the things that, I was impressed with, you would be impressed with, was just standard for them.
Yeah.
And their set point of impressive was much higher than the rest of us because they were simply going to those, anniversaries and birthdays and bar mitzvahs and these huge, incredible events at the most
Yeah.
exquisite venues. And so then the pressure for the next person to do something bigger, better, more dramatic
Yeah.
just kept going up and up and up. So obviously when you get to Beckham level, like that set point, George
Yeah.
Clooney's seen it all. So you're going to have to do something pretty impressive for him to say, well, that was a great meal, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, I think that's probably contributed to it hugely. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm very interested. I'm very invested. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean,
Um,
I was young in the 90s, and so I'm a bit of a diehard Spice Girl
Me
original fan.
too.
And so I slightly lean into the Victoria camp. Like you say, we don't know. But there's been so many brilliant memes that
Oh
have
God.
kept us amused. And I think she's hopefully having a little bit of a giggle about that because I
I
feel like she
hope
would.
so. Yeah.
And my friend actually sent me one because I love to dance salsa and obviously this big thing about her dancing inappropriately. And my friend sent me a screenshot and said, your son better watch out for his wedding because my son's only 8. We're not there.
Yes.
But she was, but it's created some really good fun stuff, right?
Yeah. I think it's interesting how it's landed, hasn't it? Because
Yes.
it's just shows as a nation we just can't take much seriously, really. Like nobody
Especially
seems to
not
have
if you were
taken it very
born
seriously.
into an amazing family with a ton of cash. Like, we're going to
Yeah.
find it hard to feel sorry for you.
And I think he probably didn't expect it to land the way it has, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to us and our weddings. What's a trend you're secretly obsessed with right now?
Do you know what? I'm saying this because it's the After Dark. and it's not something I'd probably write about, but I will tell you, I really like this trend of like the silver cigarette bowls that are being laid out at weddings.
Ooh, that is
I
controversial.
wouldn't indulge in them myself, but I like the aesthetic, and like
Like the
maybe that's
50s glamour.
I'm rewatching Mad Men at the moment, so I'm very
Ah,
into all that. But yeah, I love it. Like I think it looks so cool, and I know it's bad for you. Smoking is
we
very
know.
bad for you, and
We
you
know.
shouldn't do it.
Do not do
But
it, people.
yeah, but it does look quite chic. I don't know. Maybe
Ah!
that's because again, like I grew up in the 90s
Where
and
we all
30s,
secretly
and
smoked.
it was, yeah, it was cool, wasn't it? Yeah. But it's not anymore.
And what's a wedding trend you're really hoping will just, die quietly in the corner? What's something we're not loving?
Oh, this is not really a trend per se. Like I can think of something else if this doesn't work for you, but I
Yeah.
really wish that venues across the country would think about their carpets and their wallpaper.
Go
You
on,
know,
talk to me. Talk to me.
like I know why people do a pattern carpet, but with weddings becoming more and more curated now and more stylized, it really stands out when the carpet doesn't match the rest of the vibe. And I am seeing more places move away from it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, every now and again I see a picture of a swirly carpet and I think, oh no, no.
And we know our couples feel that way, right? And obviously,
Yeah.
I'm a venue girl, so I'm going to defend our venues because they will kill me if I don't. But we
Yes.
know the footfall and the red
Yes.
wine getting spilled. It's a
Exactly. I
nightmare,
know
right?
why it's being done.
But there are many venues who have found better ways. So like grey patterned carpets or something that is just that bit more subtle. And then
Yes.
the other thing is I always tell the venues, like just find out from a local carpet supplier how much it costs to put a beige carpet over the top temporarily and then pull it up the next day because
Yeah.
not as much as anyone thinks. And if that saves you an entire booking or you offer it as an upgrade,
Yeah.
right? Like these
Yeah.
things are so simple, but we just go, oh, well, that's our carpet and now we've got to live with it.
Yeah, and it's not cheap to replace your carpet. I get it, and it has to be hard wearing, but it is the thing that, especially like from my perspective, when I'm looking for venues for shoots and things, that's the thing
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And when you go to a wedding, what kind of guest are you? Are you a good wedding guest?
Oh, I like to think so.
Are you
I
judgy?
No, no, I'm not. People always think I would be, but uh, I just think I can't. Like, I see every wedding for like the wedding that it is, not like the wider thing. And usually I'm at a wedding because I really care about the people getting married. So I'm genuinely like really happy to be there. I think I'm quite a good guest. I think I'm very aware of how a wedding goes for a couple. So I'll probably be the one going up to them being like, do you need some water? Have you had anything to eat yet? Like that kind of stuff. I get asked to be a bridesmaid a lot, so I think I'm doing
Yeah.
something right. Yeah. Yeah, I had a stint. I think I did like 4 last year or something.
But at
So
least as a bridesmaid, you have some impact and influence, right? Because you can help
yes.
and you can get involved. But
Oh, and
like,
I do.
I find I'm so like I've got no control as a guest, and that just brings me out in like hives or something.
I like controlling what I wear though, I must admit. That's my one thing as a bridesmaid. I'm always like, but can I pick what I wear?
So how do you feel about these weddings where there's like everybody must wear white, or there's a theme for what you have to wear?
I think you're asking too much of your guests. And I think when you think about how much it costs to be a wedding guest, like it really shouldn't be an extra pressure or an extra cost on the guests. I think, you should, yeah, it's unreasonable, I think, unless you know that you've got a very affluent guest list who can afford to buy a whole new outfit that maybe they'll only wear for your wedding. Yeah, I do think it's unreasonable. And that I kind of feel the same about destination weddings as well.
That's so true because I started my career in destination. So I did 10 years all over the world before coming back to the UK. And I definitely saw that. Like people are asking a lot of their guests to get on a plane, to take the time off work, to pay for the accommodation. And like it's a lot, right? And that might be the only trip they're then able to take that year.
Yeah. And I do a lot on my TikTok about it and like the amount of people who come back saying, but it's so much cheaper for me. And I'm like, yeah, it's cheaper for you, but that's because the cost has been passed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw in Destination was that people basically coming mostly from the States because I was in the Caribbean and they would just bring like 50, 100 people down from the States and they would get the most lavish event that would have cost them 4 or 5 times that amount in the States.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's great for the couples, right?
Yeah.
Have you been to any destination weddings?
I've been to a few, yeah.
What
Yeah.
locations? What did you love about them?
I love the weather. Like,
Yeah.
I was a bridesmaid for one of my best friends, got married in Ibiza. And
Ooh.
any like excuse to go to Ibiza, it was very nice. Hadn't been there for some years, so it was lovely. Hotel right on the beach every day, even the day of the wedding, started with a swim in the sea. Like just I just felt very chilled out there. But it was very, very, very hot actually. And you know what? The day before, they had a welcome party,
Mhm.
and I thought, I'm gonna just wear my bridesmaid shoes. It's only in the bar next door. I'll wear them. Just make sure they still fit all right and everything. A heel came off. And I spent the rest, like before the wedding, looking for another pair of shoes, which we were getting into, like it was end of season in Ibiza, so like the
Closed and yeah.
yeah, it was like winter shoes, but also a lot of them were like sparkly, huge stripper heels, basically. And I was like, I don't think that's what she's got in mind. Like the Diamante studded, like I was like, oh, okay. 6-inch platforms. But in the end, I found some glue that said it was for shoes. So I glued my shoe back together. And I remember sitting at the front of the outdoor ceremony, beautiful setting, looking at my shoe and seeing the glue had melted in the heat
Oh,
and it
oh
was
no.
running down my shoe and my heel was like coming apart. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I think now I would always take a spare pair of shoes anywhere I go.
And was it
Um,
on the beach? So you had to then in your
no,
glue
it wasn't on
shoes
the
go
beach,
down the okay,
luckily. It was on grass. I
better.
did do a very strange walk back down the aisle, but hopefully nobody really noticed. And then I had to, and I'm a person who will never admit defeat. I'll wear my heels all night
Yeah.
long. I had to take them off as soon as the photos were done because they weren't safe. And everyone just thought I couldn't hack it, and I was really ashamed.
Oh, you're like, I can stand in heels. This is
Yeah,
not the problem right now.
yeah. I just need a heel to stand on.
When it comes to the platforms, so Bridebook, and people are vendors, suppliers, venues, they're advertising, they're looking for couples to find them. What's something that if you weren't worried about hurting their feelings, you would tell them about the way they're creating their listing?
Oh my goodness. Quite a lot, actually. I think your photos is the most important one. So I always look at things from a very editorial perspective. So I'm always looking at photos because the words I can do myself, the photos I usually can't. Black and white photos are gorgeous, but they do not pop on the front of a listing.
Yeah.
Photos of your lawn, not what you should be leading with. Like I like to see places that are styled, that look beautifully wedding ready. They're not overly busy. That's another thing I would find.
Inspirational.
Yes, when I was looking for photos, sometimes the pictures would be full of guests, and I'd be like, this is too busy
Yeah.
for me to use, and couples won't be able to like picture it fully. So yeah, I think and just checking, like sense checking every now and again, put a reminder in your calendar every 6 months just to go through, get rid of some of the old ones because I would go through some of them and you'd be seeing like a mason jar with a lace and burlap and I can date that.
Yeah.
Like I know that's from like 2015.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And
why is
our
that still
couples
on your
know that
listing?
stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
think we think that they won't realize. Now, they might not know the exact year like you do, but they will look at it and go, oh, this is an old-fashioned venue.
Yeah, it's
Or this
quite
is an old,
dated.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and you can tell even just by some of the fashion people are wearing in the photos and
yes.
the hairstyles.
Yeah.
Crispier the hairstyle, the further back in time we've gone. Yeah, little things like that. I just think regularly, like don't just think they're pushed to the back of the album, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Get rid of
Yeah.
them and
Yeah.
replace them with modern ones. And then the other thing I think it's really important to do is talk to your couples, like in your writing, talk to them in person as
Yeah.
well. But a lot of places are we do this and we do that, and
Yeah.
it should be like when you come here, you will have like that kind of thing. So those are my two main things that I do always think when I look at people's like listings on these platforms. I
I
think,
love that. And obviously, I do loads of sales and marketing training. That's my day-to-day 9 to 5. And those two things I am fully on board with. And I say exactly the same things to our venues. Like, your images are everything. And stop talking about yourself. Start talking about your couple.
yeah,
Right?
it's
Those
it's
are huge.
it's a big, yeah. And you see it on social as well, like captions where people are like, I love this. And it's like, they
We
don't
don't
care what you love.
know.
You are going to love this, you know?
Yes. It's a bit like, every time you see an estate agent post anything ever, and it always says, we are delighted to
Yeah,
list this for, and you're like, no one cares that you're
yeah,
delighted. You were delighted about the last 2,000 houses you
yeah,
sold. And I see the same with our wedding copy, whether it's from suppliers or venues. And it's always like, oh, we are thrilled.
yeah,
Congratulations. Like, it's all the same. Like,
yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah, and I think it's also really important whether you're a like one man band or
Yeah.
you've got a marketing team to sit together and say, how do I want people to feel when they've seen my content? You know, do I want them to feel like reassured and calm and like this is a very refined space? Do I want them to feel really vibey, excited, energized? And then like build a little framework of some like these are the things we do say, these are the things we don't say, and just use that as a guide.
Love it.
Yeah, I think it helps give people a bit of structure.
So I know you love the whole tech element, and as a whole, the wedding industry isn't super techy, right? That's what I see in my work. How is the likes of AI, Chat GPT, working and integrating with platforms like Bridebook? Because I'm seeing couples go to chat and say, show me the best 10 venues in this area, in this budget, with these three criteria. And within 5 seconds, chat's got a little
Yeah.
spreadsheet ready for you. How is that working with something like Bridebook?
So it's really interesting because it's still very much in that like evolution phase
Yeah.
and everybody wants to use it as much as possible. But I think I exercise caution with it because I use ChatGPT so much. It's embarrassing. Like me and ChatGPT are really good friends
Besties.
now. We are
My chat
literally.
thinks I'm so funny.
Yeah, like it's very validating, isn't it?
I know, so
Yeah,
bad.
it always says to me, "You go, girl." I'm like, "Thank you, I will."
Yeah. Or like, that
But
was such a great idea, Kelly. And I'm like, I know, I'm so brilliant. Thanks.
sometimes it says things to me about weddings, and I think, well, I know that's not true. Actually, I know that's not right. So we do need to be
Yeah.
careful with it, and I think as well, couples can use it for shortlisting for sure, but it's never going to replace that kind of magic of actually doing the work yourself and figuring out what you want and what you don't want. Like it might give you 10 venues.
Mm.
What are you going to do if you don't like any of them? Go back and ask again or start looking yourself because that's part of the experience. And I think we need to be careful not to make weddings too automated and too transactional. Save the automation for the bits that are a real headache, like the budget and the to-do list, that kind of stuff. Like if you can tick off on your to-do list, I've done this, and then it immediately tells you what to do next,
Yeah.
way better than taking the magic out of actually going to see the places that will set the scene and the vibe for your day. I think
But
that's
chat is pulling information from the likes of
yes, but
Bridebook.
it doesn't always pull it correctly and it doesn't always present it correctly.
I've
I
seen
think
that too.
that's the thing to bear in mind. And I do think there will be some couples who do want to do it that way, but for the most part, I think weddings were quite lucky that people still want that very hands-on. Like a lot of people have been looking forward to this moment
Yeah.
years and years and years, and they don't then want to hand it over to like a
Yeah.
robot to do,
But like you say, they gets it wrong. So there's a beautiful venue that I work with, incredibly high end, like minimum you're talking about 60 grand just for, I mean, I say just for the estate with
Yeah,
nothing even there, not even a glass of champagne yet,
yeah,
right? 60 grand minimum. And when I started working with them, they were like, we keep getting all of these leads in and they're the wrong people and they haven't got enough money and da da da. And then basically, long story short, we found out that chat had pulled from some listing site, not yours, another listing site, that the room hire was like 10 grand.
yeah,
And so they were booking venue tours, coming and then working out like they had absolutely nowhere near the correct budget and
yeah,
were completely wasting their time and the venue's time. And obviously, great, we found it and we fixed it. But how many small nuances like that are we actually finding and
yeah.
putting the wrong information that's out there?
So I think as we like develop with it and like
Mm.
build with it, we just need to be really mindful that it does make mistakes. It's not real.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very interested to see what we do with it over the coming years. But I think, yeah, the real benefit to AI in weddings is couple side, definitely automating those tasks you really don't want to have to deal with that are a real headache. Even things as simple as like, I'm importing my RSVP list, please sort it for me. So I've just got the yeses. Like that's such a great, or so it pulls out any dietary requirements that I need to know about. Stuff that it can't really get wrong. But like for venues and for businesses and things, I think it's so obvious when AI has written your copy.
So obvious.
So I was a judge
Oh,
for a
oh,
wedding awards.
I was literally just about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I just judged this week for an awards, and I was like, this whole thing, like almost every venue had
Every entry was the same. We are more than just a, we are a, every single one ended
all
with
this.
that. And yeah, it was the first time I was really like, wow, okay.
Mm,
Yeah, because I think you're a wedding professional, you're not a writer, sure,
I get
but
it.
you can still put sentences together, like maybe ask ChatGPT to give you a structure
Yeah,
or tell you what to include,
yeah,
but don't get it to write for you.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, use it to automate tasks, use it to give you pointers, but don't just copy and paste from it because it has a very specific rhythm and it's very obvious
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
and it is a little well, I started just marking people down because I was like,
No.
ChatGPT, ChatGPT.
And also, like, what a waste of my time to just read a load of regurgitated stuff from AI rather than
Yeah,
actually hear from the person.
yeah,
I kind of was a bit, oh, thanks.
yeah. And I
Like,
think if you do want to use it, if you're not confident in your writing,
mm.
get it to almost interview you, like say, ask
Oh,
me
that's
questions about this to help me structure this. And then, yeah, it can give you really tailored advice, but without it being like totally like bereft of any tone
It's
or
like you miss the connection then, right? And it's so
yeah,
hard in today's day and age with everything being digital, which is amazing. And we have so much to be grateful for, like this podcast, right? We can do this.
yeah,
You're in your office, I'm in mine. That's great. But we miss that connection. And if we're
yeah,
not even writing a
yeah,
social media post or a brochure content from ourselves,
yeah,
and we know our people,
yeah,
breaks, right? It just
yeah.
breaks.
It's
What
a slippery slope.
What's something that you maybe got wrong or made a mistake early on in your career that maybe helped you to up level or that you really learned something from? I know I've made a million, certainly in the beginning.
Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, so one of the like most heart-stopping moments I had was we had a very specific CMS and you had to you couldn't have the homepage without a real wedding on it. So you had to set
Okay.
your new featured real wedding before you unfeatured the existing one.
Yeah.
And I forgot and I just took a real wedding away and the site went down.
Oh,
And I was an intern and I
oh,
had to
this is when you
say,
were at Hitched.
yeah, I had to say to Dean,
How long
because
did the
I
site
didn't
go
really
down
know.
for?
Like I'd always been told, don't set a new real wedding, like don't take one down until you've set a new one live. Never really knew why, but and then I was like, the whole site's gone down, and I think it might be my fault. But he was so fine about it, and
Okay.
actually, it's something that I've taken with me everywhere since. Is that if you make a mistake, don't hide it, don't bury it, just own up, just say, "I did this. I'm really sorry. What can I do to make it better?" And I just think that's a much
Mm,
better way to live. It's scary in the moment, but it's better to be scared for a moment than to sit there thinking, when is someone going to notice?
yeah. I heard Stephen Bartlett, who I love, and I listen to a lot, and he was saying like how much it would cost him to train someone who had not made that mistake would be more expensive than to keep the person who made the
Yeah,
mistake because they learned so much from it.
yeah,
And it really reframed the way we lead our teams and we think about our team members because sometimes, oh, they've made this huge mistake, rubbish, whatever. And it's like, well, no, now they've just learned so much through that process that they're going to be
yeah.
a better person on the other side, a better teammate on the other side.
And I learned with digital, you can always fix it.
Yeah.
It's never completely broken. You'll be able to go back through the code and pick a little bit out, figure out where it went wrong. It's never ruined. Whereas, if you make a big typo in print and it's gone out, and or you've
Oh,
put
yeah.
a competitor's name over the wrong ad or something like that is a mistake you can't really undo. But yeah, it's one of the reasons I really like digital is because you can make a mistake and then you can fix it quickly and you learn while you're fixing it.
What's something you've seen in weddings? Maybe you've covered it on a, real wedding blog, or you've seen or you've been to yourself, that's absolutely outrageous. And you were just like, what is this?
Oh, gosh. Do you know what? I feel like after a while you get a bit desensitized and like
I know, right?
nothing seems all that outrageous anymore. Maybe if I'd been at the Beckham wedding, I might have had a juicy story here. I do know I was speaking to Anne Nicholas, the wedding planner, a while back on my podcast. And she was telling me, some clients want to come in and have giraffes there and things like that. And that was beyond anything that I've heard of. I've seen some pretty lavish weddings, but the idea that you would have like live
Um,
giraffes at your wedding, that I was a little. She said that she talked them out of it in the end, but they were yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it's getting less correct to kind of do those things. But the same, I spoke to I won't drop names, a very famous top end wedding planner. And he was sharing a story with me about a couple who had also booked some animals for their wedding. And then they kind of decided, right, this was about 12 years ago. And then they decided just before, like, oh, maybe we won't do that. Maybe it won't look so good. And so when he went to cancel these animals, the guy came back and said, well, if you don't want those, I've got penguins on half price. And he was like, no, it's not about the cost. And it's not because we want
Oh,
to, like, no, just, he's like,
yeah.
stop
Just don't
offering
want
half
animals
price
to
penguins.
perform.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh my
penguins
God.
smell as well. That's the other thing about going to weddings with animals at them is there is always a smell of animals, which is hard to avoid. The other thing I suppose I see, there's a lot of like you see these posts of people saying things like, my maid of honor wants to have red hair and I want her to change her hair color and things like that. And that kind of stuff. I think maybe because I see so many weddings and I am a little less precious about these kinds of things, but I always do think like, oh, it's just a day and your friends aren't props, they're people. Like, don't start making them change their appearance or anything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
do.
that's a bit much, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a quick fire before we wrap up our conversation. Okay,
Okay.
so whatever comes to your mind, gut feel, you just go for it, all right?
Okay.
Black tie or barefoot weddings?
Black tie.
Ooh, champagne towers, yes or no?
Yes, but actually I like variations on them as well. Like I love I've seen martini towers lately, Diet Coke towers. I'm very
Ooh.
into that. I like people being creative with it, but a tower of anything I'm in.
Content creators at weddings?
Yes, I like this. I think it's good to have a different perspective. And it also, I think you have to get the right one, get the recommendation from your photographer or whoever, because they'll know who's good to work with. But I think it's nice to have that different perspective. And it also, I think it eases a bit of pressure on the photographers as well to turn stuff around quite as quickly because they're already going to get some quick content.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. One word to describe your last week at Hitched.
Ooh. Uh, Exciting. We launched the wedding trends report, which is my baby.
Okay.
And I was in the midst of that and I was loving it.
And one word for your first week at Bridebook?
Hectic.
Ah! What is the biggest misconception about wedding tech?
I think that it can be a little bit like soulless, a bit, that it doesn't really fit in this space. But I think in the right way, it's about not removing the emotion from it, but about supporting the couples. I think that's the most important bit of it.
What's one supplier that you think is underpaid? Not as in a name, as in a niche.
Um, Celebrants.
Ooh, interesting choice. And
What
let's quickly
your thing?
divert from the quick fire. Your
Yeah,
thoughts on celebrants being able to legally marry people and the registrar conversation?
I really want this to happen. I think your wedding ceremony is so important, and the ability to choose who runs your ceremony, like it's bonkers that you can't do that in England and Wales. I do think it's very baffling. And I get you have to have some legal elements in it, but the fact that it's so strict on things you can say and can't say, and time limits and stuff, and actually this is about a really important declaration of commitment and love, and you should be able to shape it exactly as you want. And I think the work that goes into being a celebrant, all the work beforehand and the delivery on the day, there should be 3 times the price.
Love it. What's your drink of choice after work?
On a school night, a Diet Coke.
Okay.
Or I love a spicy margarita
Ooh.
or a red wine. I'm not fussy. My drinks cabinet's just here. I could open it up and have a
As long
little.
as someone brings you a drink, you're like,
Yeah,
yes, please.
yeah, I'll
Yes,
drink it.
yes. Okay, and finally, one word for 2026 weddings.
Oh, gosh, sorry. I know it's meant to be quick fire. I think customized. I'm gonna go with that. It's more than personalized. It
Yes.
it's customized, yeah.
Zoe, if people want to get in touch with you, where should they reach you? We will pop the links in the show notes, but where's the best place to find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Zoe Burke _ wedding editor, or I'm on TikTok at wedding _ editor. And I'm always up for a chat with anyone. So
Love it.
unless you're coming after me about your carpets, I don't. Leave me alone.
Thanks so much for joining me, Zoe.
Thank you for having me.